Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Let's see if this article from the South China Morning Post, your home for comedy news, is any good. 10 richest comedians of 2020 net worths ranked from Adam Sandler's lucrative Netflix deal and Kevin Hart's Jumanji fortune to Eddie Murphy's on-screen power and Mr. Bean's BMWs. Okay, let's take a look at the list. Number 10, Rowan Atkinson. You know, Mr. Bean, worth $150 million according to the SCMP. What most don't realize is that Rowan Atkinson is also an avid car collector. He owns dozens of sports cars ranging from McLarens and BMWs to Rolls Royces, Jaguars, Jaguars. I don't want the Brits getting mad at me. Aston Martins and a vintage Ford Falcon, to name a few. He does not own a Porsche, he told GQ. They're wonderful cars. I don't go around saying Porsches are a pile of dung, but I know I could never live with one. Somehow the typical Porsche people, and I wish them no ill, are not, I feel, my kind of people. Now, typical Porsche people is underlined as if it's a hyperlink. Where's that going to take me? Inside Khloe Kardashian's multi-million-dollar car collection from Porsche and Ferrari supercars. I see. Porsche is a Kardashian car, apparently. Who knew? So far, this article's awesome. Number 9, Will Ferrell, the coldest person I've ever met. $160 million. No fun facts about Will Ferrell. Number 8, Sacha Baron Cohen, $160 million. Wow. Number 7, forgot about this person. Mike Myers is worth $200 million. Boy, those movies must have done real well, huh? Which reminds me, I never finished the Pentaveret, and I was enjoying the Pentaveret. There's just so much TV. Number 6, Eddie Murphy, $200 million. You'd think Eddie would have a lot more money than, say, Mike Myers, but I guess not. His Beverly Hills mansion is thought to be worth over $40 million, and he owns a private island in the Bahamas for which he paid $15 million in 2007. David Letterman, number 5, $400 million. He reportedly earns $2 million per episode for Netflix's My Next Guest. Wow, that's good work if you can get that. Kevin Hart, $450 million. How many stories over the years on this pod have I told you about Kevin starting a new business or a new project? That guy's always working, so that doesn't surprise me. Adam Sandler, $480 million. The SCMP writes, while his comedies can be hit or miss, mostly miss, Sandler easily earns $20 million per film and earns somewhere between $50 and $60 million annually in total from other endeavors. Number 2, Ellen DeGeneres, $500 million. She reportedly pocketed $20 million for her Netflix special Relatable. Wow. And number 1, Jerry Seinfeld, reportedly worth $950 million. Get that to $1 billion, Jerry, you slacker. Do a sitcom for a year. Jerry gets 15% of the syndication money from Seinfeld. According to Celebrity Net Worth, the comedian can earn up to $50 million in any given year, particularly if he's doing a stand-up tour. He's reportedly splurged $50 million on his car collection. Think about that for a second. $50 million on cars. And has a house in the Hamptons thought to be worth $70 to $100 million. Good job, SCMP.com, your home for comedy news. Vulture asked a bunch of questions of famous podcaster Marc Maron, including the guest you'd want a second shot at. Maron said there are definitely a lot of people who have been through things since I last talked to them, and a lot of the comedians I talked to before they were huge, Kevin Hart and John Mulaney, come to mind. I'd like to talk to them again. If somebody has a second life since I interviewed them, somebody like Kevin, that might be more interesting. Most challenging episode. Maron says there was one with Neil Brennan that he wouldn't let me put up because he thought I was disrespectful to him. There's a generation of comics my age who were contemporaries with his brother, Kevin Brennan, who knew him when he was a kid working the door at the Boston Comedy Club and saw him as just a kid. So we recorded what I thought was a pretty good episode, but he thought I wasn't giving him the respect he deserved for who he was in the business and was still treating him like that kid that worked the door. And he was kind of right. We had to patch it up and do another episode. Then there were the ones that did go up that were fairly difficult. We thought we shouldn't use the Billy Braver episode because it didn't make him look great, but he got very defensive about it. He said, you better use it or I'm going to have Barbara Streisand's lawyer call you. He also talked about the episode with Lorne Michaels, which I liked a lot, but he said, Lorne Michaels, who I was obsessed with. It was good to get the lowdown on something that I had carried a profound resentment for most of my life. Lorne gave me 2 sittings over the course of 2 days to tell his story and also to enable me to process whatever my experience was with him. But more often than not, most of what I was experiencing was on my side, and they didn't really realize it. It was me carrying guilt or shame about my behavior, and it didn't really land in the same way with the person I was talking to. Tim Heidecker is on the newest episode of the Last Laugh podcast. They talk to him about Heidecker's fantastic parody of the Joe Rogan Experience. How did you decide to do that? Heidecker said, on Office Hours, the podcast I do, we get a little obsessed with these characters, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Tim Pool, and all those people out there. They have huge audiences, and it just blows our mind that anyone gives a hoot about what they have to say. It's amazing that they have this audience, and there's just a million things to make fun of about it. And the thing that always struck me about Rogan's podcast, of which I've listened to some, enough to get it, I think the general point of view and everything, is just how boring it is. It's so boring and dry, and I don't come to any real higher understanding of anything. Can I jump in? I was listening to Rogan when it was cold out, and I was exercising in the basement. I'd throw Spotify up on the TV. Since I've been running outside, I haven't listened to Rogan in months. I like Rogan's podcast, but it's just off the beaten path. I use Pocket Cast as my app in case you're curious. Heidecker said, especially when they're talking about comedy and having other comedians on, I just find it such a drag. See, I disagree. Those are my favorite episodes. And so lame that so many men have just decided this is their Oprah or this is their Letterman. Why? What are you doing with your hours? I can understand if you're falling asleep to it. That could be the only thing. So I said, I think I know how to do this in a way that's not a straight impression, but it should get my central thesis across that it's boring. It was essentially improvised with a little sheet of paper that had keywords and names and stuff that we wanted to get to eventually. But yeah, it was just fun. We kind of dropped it and made it a loop so it felt like it was 12 hours because that was always my thing with him. You could dip in a Rogan and not know where you are and not know if there's any beginning, middle, or end. Did you ever hear from him? No. I knew people who were sort of regulars on the show who were enjoying it, like Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura, who are friends with him. They were loving it. So you listen for years and years. I've been combative or in online spats with certain people in this business, and I would probably have a good chat with Joe Rogan if I actually saw him. I don't hate anybody. I don't wish anybody ill will or anything, but I enjoy poking the stick at certain things. Hey, there's a new episode of the show I host on the Live One app. It is called The Weekly Comedy Thing. That is the Papa show to this show. So on The Weekly Comedy Thing, I tell you some quick comedy news, and then I play a clip from the comedian. Here, I can't play any clips. There, I can play clips. So if you'd like less me, more comedy, it's called The Weekly Comedy Thing. The app is called Live One. It is free. And while you're on the app, you will find some comedy channels that I program. I'll point you towards the one called Today's Comedy, which is, today's comedy. The comedians that tend to be in the news and tend to be the most popular. Check that out. There are also some deep dives. There's a channel of just 2010s comedians, 2000s comedies, one called That's What She Said, which is women only. There's a clean one. There's a southern one. The Weekly Comedy Thing on the Live One app. Check that out. Vulture wrote about how comedy specials get translated, but maybe in the translation it doesn't work. In a 2020 Comedy Central set, Matthew Broussard told a joke about the peculiar intersection of traits possessed by people who live in Austin, Texas. For example, was that a guy wearing a Trump yarmulke? Then he gestures at a hypothetical city resident and says, I am MAGA, and he lets the punchline hang for a beat before continuing, good luck to the subtitle guy with that one, huh? The task of converting a comedian's wordplay, nonverbal cues, and esoteric references into short bursts of text that audiences can process in real time is an unenviable challenge. Since 2016, every special produced by Comedy Dynamics has been translated into somewhere between 5 and 15 languages. Netflix translates its specials into more than 35 different languages. Dutch comedian Martin Koning says, I thought the translations were pretty accurate. It's very difficult for my style because I'm a bit fast. I go from this to that in a couple seconds. His bigger concern is that subtitles often give away punchlines before they're delivered. A good punchline has to be a surprise. He says, you know what we call nitpicking in Dutch? Mierennuken. But he says, had it been included in his special, the expression might not have gone over so well because translated literally, it means ant effing. And even there, ants as in the bugs, not your mom's sister. That'd be a different joke. Let's stay international. It's the Paddy Power Comedy Festival. If you're in Dublin, 21st through the 24th, 90 artists performing across 4 stages. And I love the name of these stages: the Free Gaff, the Only Joke In, the Bleedin' Massive Stage, and the Craic Den. If you're not hip to Irish slang, crack, C-R-A-I-C, I'll roughly translate it into New Yorkese. Crack is a good time. In the 90s, I was hanging out with some people from Ireland, and they'd be like, want to go get some crack, or want to go find some crack, or want to go do some crack, or whatever the hell they said. Now, in the 90s, if you said the word crack to me, I was like, wait, are we going to go get some sort of cocaine-based product? I don't want to do that. But no, crack is fun. So the Craic Den is a funny name. Good lineup at the Paddy Power Comedy Festival if you are hip to Irish comedians. Tommy Tiernan, Dylan Moran, Deirdre O'Kane, Kevin McAleer, the Dirtbirds, and a bunch of others. Some emerging Irish acts like Fiona Frawley, Shane Daniel Byrne, Sinead Quinlan, and online comedy stars including Tony Cantwell, Emma Duran, and some others. There's even Americans. Andrew Dismukes from Saturday Night Live. He's going. Why? I don't know either. Also Sherry Cola, Patty Harrison, and Mary Beth Barone. Some Brits. Fern Brady will be over there, so will Flo and Joan, Helen Bauer, and Dean Baptiste. So if you're in Dublin, check it out. That sounds like a good time. And let me clear some leftovers out of the fridge. A few weeks back, Vulture said to a bunch of comedians, what would you do with a Marvel-sized budget? Joe Firestone came up with Joe Firestone's Golden Disney Early Bird Special. Joe said, I made this special good timing for a very, very low budget. I would redo it, but everybody, all 16 seniors and me, would be covered in gold leaf. At the beginning of the special, would buy a cameo from Queen Elizabeth, and she'd say something kind of fun like, keep comedy and carry on. And then she kind of giggles to herself for a while. What I'd really love is to have an 18-minute Oklahoma-ish dream ballet to the song, accentuate the positive, or maybe an instrumental version of Timber, because Timber is just a perfect song. It would pretty much be remade shot for shot, but I would want to end with a fight scene. So all these gold seniors are flying through the air, and I would want it to be real, like harnesses attached to some kind of plane. And I'd want it to be clear they would be all heading south like birds. So we see Washington Square Park, and then we see the Freedom Tower. This is obviously a huge departure, but I'm a big fan of the Disney as an adult phase, and I'm thinking that maybe it's a two-part special. In the second part, you just fly everybody out private to Disney World, and you just see them reviewing Disney foods. I think that would be really good. You see them eat the Dreamsicle churros, the Polenta corn dogs. I mean, Disney's doing some really inventive stuff as far as I can tell online, and I guess if you have that much money, you don't really have to worry about anybody buying the finished special, right? That's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your shows. buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews or become a premium subscriber. Head on over to Apple Podcasts. They'll put that under your nose. $5 a month, first month free. You get the episodes a little early and they're commercial free. See you tomorrow.